Hey everyone, it's Eric
and Roy
for Hatchet Cast episode 3, and today we're going to be talking about one warrior, one sword. So a little bit of a philosophical talk. We're going to start off. We've had several comments from people asking about background, so we'll start off with Roy, and he'll give a little background on himself, and then I'll do mine.
Okay, quick background on myself without getting too long-winded. For me, I was just like every other little redneck kid running around the woods barefoot, hunting rabbits.
Classic.
No, eventually got my background, obviously what you guys would probably want to know, not everything about me, is when it comes to firearms. And when I turned 21, old enough to get my own pistol, I went to a gun show and purchased a pistol. Ended up with a Glock 19, a used police trade-in Glock 19. And while I was at that gun show, I decided to take a CCW training class. I took that CCW training class and didn't learn anything. Nothing whatsoever.
Nice.
So I had a certificate so I could go and apply for my Florida concealed weapon permit, which I did. Went ahead and applied for that. I learned how to, in that class, I learned how to do my fingerprints. I learned how to fill out a paper application. Nothing about the gun itself.
Right.
I actually went to a gun range, and there was no target hanging up, and the instructor came in as we walked through the door, said, "Hey, pick up the revolver.
And just shoot it?
And just shoot it at a back wall."
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's what we did. I'm pretty sure there was no rounds in it.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty sure it was blanks.
Yeah, jeez.
Okay. So that's what we did. So I ended up with this pistol. I got it. I now have my Florida concealed weapon permit because I went and applied, got it in hand, and I'm like, I don't even really know. Yeah, I know how to shoot a bolt action rifle. I know how to shoot a pump shotgun, things like that, things that I grew up with shooting constantly all the time. But I knew nothing about a pistol. So I started seeking out training. And once I started seeking out training, I actually stumbled across a crap load of bad instructors. That taught me a lot of bad stuff. Yeah. But then I finally ran into an instructor that knew what they were talking about. And then from that, took that class, really enjoyed it. From there, continued taking classes over the years. Progressed from pistol shooting into carbine shooting. Picked up an AR-15. My first AR-15 actually was a high standard. I think nice. I paid like $600 for it or something like that. Once again, at a gun show. Yeah. This is well before we ever owned our own gun shop or anything like that. And then took a class with that. Broke it actually in my first class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it broke in my first class. Had to borrow the instructor's rifle. Took it back. Learned how to work on it.
Yeah.
Fix it. Yeah. Actually fix the issues that were with it. Because it wasn't something that necessarily, it was a used rifle, so it wasn't going to be warranted by a manufacturer or anything like that. So I learned how to fix it. From there, found interest in that and training and also working on guns. And then basically that kind of progressed later on down the road when my dad actually was looking to retire from his company that he was working for like 35 years. Yeah. And we were like, hey, let's open up a gun shop. So found a lot of interest in training and working on these things, stuff like that, and moved on and continued to train, and here I am today, basically. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think what we're, having that concealed carry class experience and even your gun breaking on you, how did that shape your development?
That definitely shaped my development. That concealed weapon class laid so much onto me. Anytime I'm actually doing any kind of instruction, now, granted, guys, I'm a baseline instructor. I teach fundamentals. That's it, okay? I'm not no top tier instructor or anything like that.
I think you're top tier.
Not top tier. But I teach fundamentals and teach basic firearm safety, okay? When I took that class, that weighed so heavily on me that here it is, I had this permit, and yeah, you know what? That's great. It's fantastic. I don't even think you should have to take a class to get a concealed weapon permit, to be honest with you. I think it should be your constitutional rights to be able to carry a firearm. But that being said, it's your responsibility to learn how to use the firearm. So I got a Glock 19 strapped in my waistline, gangster carry. Yeah. And I'm heading down the road, and I know nothing about it. I had no clue. I was probably going to do more harm to myself or somebody else. Right. And I took the responsibility to actually take a class. And like I said, I stumbled on a bad instructor. And my very first class that I took was absolutely horrible. Yeah. I mean, it really was. I mean, taught me bad fundamentals. It probably was borderline not safe now knowing it, looking back. Sure. Continued, I didn't give up there. So that being said, you guys, if you find a bad instructor, I know we're going to get into training here in a little bit, but I'm going to say now, if you find a bad instructor, don't give up. Go find another class. Just leave that class. Yeah. I spent money and signed up for a class and left within the first hour and a half of a class before.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that weighed so heavily on me that I wanted to continue to taking. And then when I took that rifle class and I had this gun and it broke on me within the first 200 rounds of the class, we just got past zeroing. You know, if you ever take a rifle 101 class, you're going to spend the first 2 hours zeroing rifles.
It's my favorite part.
The best part.
Yeah, I hate it.
So it breaks on me within the first, 200 rounds roughly. And then had that experience of, because I'm broke, I got no money, you know. I want a rifle.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? So I'm searching the internet, this wealth of useless knowledge, and eventually learned how to fix it. So,
nice. Yeah, that's a very key way to. Well, we'll get into my background. So, I actually joined the military, joined the Air Force when I was really young, 18, and ended up in the JTACing world as a TAC-P in the Air Force. Did a couple of vacations, government funded, to Afghanistan in 2010 through 11 and also 2012. So kind of during more of that heavier fighting season. It started to die out in 2012. But as far as firearms, like as soon as I hit that world in the military, I had this huge fascination with firearms. I think also just the advancement of the gear. Like gear was really cool because there's so much tailored equipment for the stuff that I had to use. We have a lot of special equipment as a JTAC, so different pouches and different configurations, and figuring out like, you know, where I wanted to put things. That it really triggered my interest. So
gear does trigger interest.
Oh yeah, I'm a gear nerd,
yeah,
like
definitely.
so bad.
I was not really a gear nerd, not to interrupt you, until like probably the past year, and now I got like 3 or 4 plate carriers.
Yeah. It's a dark hole.
More chest rigs than I know what to do with.
It is a dark hole, and so yeah, I mean, and I started shooting. I wanted to do some more training outside of the unit, and so just really started, you know, seeking out training myself and doing it on my own time and my own dime, and really looking to kind of create shooting as a craft. And so, yeah, I mean, there's not really too much about my background. I mean, I ended up coming down to Florida after the military, and we have a training community here called JTAC Ranch, and we have a group of guys that we shoot every week, and it's amazing because there's so many guys that are passionate about firearms and training and wearing gear and being better and learning. That's the biggest thing, is learning. That it's inspiring me to continue to be a professional student, really.
For sure. Definitely. We've been blessed actually with this community now that we have, which really was needed here in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Especially in our particular area in Central Florida. Yeah. Like we really didn't have. Yeah, there's a firearm community, but generally speaking, it's a purchasing community, a collecting community, which there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, we're gonna kind of talk about that. It's a collecting community, but there's nothing really per se bad about that. But now we have this community that's starting to develop, like all these people that have been collecting for so long. Like they have this gear, they have these firearms, and now they're experimenting with it. And that's the beauty about training and learning. And that's what I learned early on when I got into this. It's like, man, just experimenting with just different types of stuff and learning what works for you and doesn't work for you. So
yeah, I mean, that is so true. And I think a lot of people, especially in the gun community, will have family members that will look up to them as a gun expert because they own a lot of firearms, not necessarily because they know either firearm safety or have any training whatsoever. So people will kind of misconstrue that concept. Oh, you must know a lot about guns because you own a lot of guns.
That is probably one of the best points that I can ever tell people. It's just because you own a lot doesn't make you an expert. And listen, I'm not an expert by no means. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm an expert. I am still learning.
Yeah.
I learn every single day. There's stuff that I learned from Eric. There's stuff that I learned from all these guys out here. Anytime that we take a class, I'm learning. Anytime that we're just shooting, it doesn't matter if we're just like going to go sling a few rounds downrange, zeroing a rifle. Yeah. I'm still learning something in that moment. So owning a bunch of guns doesn't make you an expert. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I can't stress that enough. No offense to anyone that owns a bunch of guns, but you need to get some training.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who do collect out there that do get training, and that's awesome. If your budget allows you to have a ton of different stuff because you want to try it out, then go for it. So that's kind of going into the next thing that we're going to be talking about, which is collectors versus capability-driven shooters. So can you be a collector and a capability-driven shooter? Absolutely. But most of the time, there's a lot of folks that will, collect firearms just to collect them, or they're looking for a certain theme. But it does not make somebody an expert to just have a ton of guns, right? They may know a lot about it, but as far as actual function and capability, that's where there's a difference.
Yeah, you have to get out. If you're a collector, once again, nothing wrong with it. It's great. Heck, that's what I make a living off of.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people that come and buy firearms from me, collectors, and I love you guys. I really do.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, we do.
We do. You drive the firearm community.
Yeah.
You really do. So that's you fund a lot of people by collecting. But I encourage the difference between a lot of times is just collecting. Take some of that stuff and get out and learn what your capability is with all this different type of product. Hey, I don't really care what it is. If you're a World War II collector, which, man, there's such awesome firearms in that world.
Yeah.
Okay, we can talk for days about that. But get out and use them. I know they're valuable.
Yeah.
But get out and use them and see what the capability is of them. Learn about them. And there are a lot of guys that do that. I mean, we shoot with a few guys. I mean, heck, we've had guys come out with Mosin Nagants and things like that and try to learn the capability of what they can actually do with that gun. What is the, how far can they shoot it? Can they make 500-yard hits with it?
Yeah. I know when I was I did collect a little bit of World War II stuff. And for me, when I did do that collecting, I wanted the experience because I was a historical nut. Like, I love history. So shooting that firearm, which is giving me kind of that experience of what those guys back then felt like, which is cool about the collecting world. But jumping into the capability side of things, I actually had a good friend of mine, super good trainer, really decorated background, that was kind of telling me, like, hey, challenging me to, why don't you start slimming down your gun cabinet, and instead of having a bunch of mediocre firearms, why not just dump those firearms, get the money from that, and start to build up a couple of firearms that you have and really get intimate with those and use those for training to give yourself a capability.
For sure, most definitely. I see a lot being in the retail side of it. Why this goes, I will get a lot of customers that come in and they'll have multiple repeats virtually of the same types of pistols. They'll have 10 pistols, which there's nothing wrong with that. 10 9mm semi-automatic pistols, and virtually almost every single one of them fit the exact same role. They're all either full size or all conceal carry. There's collectors of every different type. I got customers that I see that collect conceal carry style pistols, like little single stack slimline pistols. But that's all they have. Once again, so are they really carrying every single one of those? Are they really learning their capability for every single one of them? Or should they slim down their cabinet and say, okay, well, you know what? I want to carry a Glock 43X. If that's you, that's you. You do you, right? Carry that Glock 43X and learn your capability with it. Don't buy a Glock 43X of a P365, a such and such, so on and so on, a Smith & Wesson Shield, and then you got 15 different variations of the exact same gun, and never train with any of them or learn your capability, your concealed carry capability with them. Seek and learn what that capability is, and then maybe slim that cabinet down.
I mean, it's like owning a Honda Civic and a Toyota Corolla. Like, you've got both of the same car pretty much in the driveway, and you're trying to figure out, well, which one's better. And they both have their pros and cons, and there could be more, but you want to kind of, and this is where we start to get in the philosophical portion, is when we say one warrior, one sword, what we're meaning is that whole mentality is you yourself are the capability, right? You yourself are what is an asset. Everything else is just a tool to make you more capable or to give you more ability, in training or, in whatever. So if I have, no training, and I think I can buy my capability, like I can just pay for all these different things and just buy that, then you may need to relook at your regimen.
For sure. You're definitely not going to buy your capability. We see guys with the best of the best kit and gear and weapons. I mean, we've seen guys come out with
$1,000 pistol light.
Literally $1,000. We've seen guys actually come out with $3,000 pistols.
Yeah.
And you got a guy that has more capability because he has invested in his training, takes a bone stock. We've been in classes before actually, and where a guy's got a bone stock Glock 19 running plastic sights on it.
Yeah, Glock sights. And someone else is running a staccato. Yeah.
I mean, that literally has happened. We've watched it happen, and that guy with the bone stock Glock is outperforming him. I mean, it's a $500 pistol versus a $3,500, $4,000 pistol.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not buying your capability.
No.
Can you run the crap out of that staccato? Yes. Can you run the crap out of the Glock? Are they both fantastic guns? Yes, they're both fantastic guns. Yeah. Okay. If you want to collect all of them, collect all of them.
Got to catch them all, Pokemon.
But learn your capability. You have to get the training behind it.
Yes. Yeah. So with that capability, the way that I like to look at it is what distance. So I look at distance and also time of day. So do I want to be capable at night? Do I want to be capable 24/7? Also, do I want to have a capability of 0 yards to 1,000 yards? You might just want a capability that says, hey, 0 to 100 yards or 0 to 500 yards. For me personally, for Eric, I want to have that capability of being able to reach a target from 0 to 1,000 yards, which means I need different sets of tools to make that job easier or more capable, right?
Eric, what would your we mentioned it earlier as far as like having your locker, okay, per se, like your ready room. What would your ready room look like as far as your tools that you would put in it? And then obviously you get your capability off of your training. What would your ready room look like?
So my ready room, like in the military for JTACs, we all have a cage with all of our gear preset in there, and different types of kit for different mission settings that we are asked to do. So for my ready room or my gun cabinet specifically, I'll have a 300 blackout for like quiet stuff that gets me from 0 to 200. If I throw supers in there, 0 to 300, and it's real quiet. So, and I have a lot of capability in terms of penetration. I've got 2 pistols. One's a Glock 19 I use for concealed carry. I have a Glock 45 for my battle pistol or side, that tool. And that covers also, can I shoot 100 yards with it? Yes. But it's mostly my 0 inside of 50 yards. And it's also a backup or also a confined space tool. For my general, like if I'm taking a vehicle gun, I'll use the 11.5 5.56 rifle or AR pistol. And then for my general purpose rifle or recce rifle, we'll talk about that.
We're gonna start calling them general purpose rifles. Yeah. Tired of hearing the word recce.
Yeah. I've got a 13.9, and that can get me out to. Can I touch 500 yards, 600 yards? Yes, but it's mostly that inside of 400 range, and it can go all the way up to close quarters, 7 yards. And then I have a Mark 12 SPR, so that allows me to get a little bit more refined targeting,
and a little bit of velocity downrange for effectiveness.
Yes, absolutely. So kind of like an urban special purpose rifle, or DMR if you want to call it that. And then I have a 308 bolt gun which can reach out to 1,000. So, and it's a really super precise tool. So yes, do the tools overlap? Absolutely. Can I use an SPR within 100 yards? Absolutely. But there are some tools that are better for certain jobs than others. I do have a CZ Scorpion also to kind of like hand off to somebody, and also the ammo compatibility is good. So if they just have a pistol, they can throw, use a CZ Scorpion and have ammo compatibility. So all the tools talk to each other. They overlap in their performance capabilities, but they are designed for specific things. And I dump money and time behind them, and I accessorize them to get them to the standard that I need them to be. So like lasers for night stuff because running night vision, or a good flashlight so that way we can see in dark areas.
Yeah, 100%. That is, my room would look virtually, there's no point running down it, but it would look virtually the same as yours, because we've had this conversation over and over and over. Do I have duplicates? Do I have duplicate 11.5s? Yeah. I mean, right now I'm currently sitting on 3 11.5s.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit.
Because I need a backup for my backup. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a bit of a collector. Okay? Yeah. To a certain extent, there's certain things that I love. Yeah. But talking about that capability wise goes, yes, I have 3 11.5s. They virtually all have the exact same effectiveness to them. They're all the same tool. They all do the same thing. But one of the downsides to me operating or using these multiple different these platforms is getting into changing. We talk about it in a couple of other podcasts where I'm constantly changing my firearms.
Yeah.
So I'm losing some capability.
Yeah.
Based off of
constantly changing the family, right?
Changing the family.
From SIG to Glock.
Correct, exactly. I've done it before. Just recently, it's a fantastic pistol, but I wanted to play around with something different because curiosity gets the best of me.
Yeah, Dago Walther.
And that collector side of it, the Walther PDP.
Yeah.
Thing shoots. It shoots, okay? Yeah. I can't say anything bad about it. It's not here to beat up on the Walther. But the moment that I picked up that Walther and ran it for a couple weeks, I went back to my Glock. Guess what?
Couldn't find the dot.
I couldn't find the dot, okay, because it changed everything about me.
Yeah.
Just running those reps at that. Learning that capability also is getting time behind that weapon. After my broken down first AR-15 that I had, and I finally fixed it and spent some more time behind it, I saved up a good amount of money, and I made a relatively large investment into a firearm. And that happened to be my SR-15, my Knight's Armament, which now I've had for 10, 11 years. Yeah. My first 6 years of ever taking any kind of carbine classes was behind that one gun. I literally owned 2 rifles. Yeah. 11.5.
Life was simpler back then.
And a 16-inch gun. And it was simple.
Yeah.
It was simple. Yeah. So you talk about that ready room. These tools overlay each other, overlap. But finding that one tool that really, for me, makes me the most effective for one warrior, one sword actually becomes a little bit better. And I've been thinking about that for a lot lately, as far as going back to the basics versus overlaying all these different tools. And I got 15 different tools in my toolbox or in my ready room or whatever it is. Let me just go back and pick a pistol and pick a rifle. Yeah. And stick with it. Yeah. Get that one rifle set up the way that I want. If I want to run it in the dark, it's already pre-set up. It's ready to go. I'm running that same gun all the time. Right. And I've really been thinking about that a lot lately, and I'm probably going to move back into that process. Am I going to get rid of my other stuff? Probably not, because the collector side of me.
We all have it.
We all have it. It's going to sit there.
But it does. How does that help you when it comes to purchasing? What is having that one warrior, one sword mentality, looking for tools to have capability that overlaps, and not a lot of tools, but a very few specific ones? What does that do with your buying strategy?
I think it really would allow you to focus in, to open up your budget some for that tool. Right. Okay. If you came to me and you said, all right, well, I want this. I got a list of 15 different guns. Well, we can probably take that list of that 15 different guns and turn it down to maybe 2 guns. Right. Okay. And now we can afford to put optics on them. Now we can afford to put good quality flashlights on them. Yeah. Versus putting subpar equipment on your gun. Focusing in on taking those few weapons that you may need to overlap each other and setting them up properly. Yeah. So I think it does a lot for purchasing because it changes your entire budget. Yeah. Everyone has a budget. I don't really care who you are. I don't care how much money. I got a gun shop. I got a budget. Yeah. I got every gun that I can possibly have at my hands, but doesn't mean I get to own all of them. Right. Yeah. It means that I need to budget myself in the aspect of picking that proper light, or I'm running night vision now. I'm getting into night vision. We'll talk about that later on down the road. But I had to budget myself for night vision. Now I have to budget myself for what type of illuminator I'm going to run.
Which
that's a whole nother gun.
Oh, dude. And that's the thing is it's crazy because when you have that mentality of looking for capability, you start to research more and you get very specific about what you want versus collecting it, just walking into a gun shop and be like, that looks cool. Maybe I'll try that. No, it's like I go in there. I know what I want. I know the capability I'm looking for. I know what I'm lacking because I've got this tool, but I don't have this tool exactly how I want it. And so you start to see those shooters research more or go to a training event, which we'll talk about here soon. And they're like, man, when I went to that class, this didn't perform right, or I didn't have this tool and it made life a little bit harder. So now I'm looking for the right thing.
And talking about as far as purchasing wise goes, if you create your budget and figure it out, there's a lot of things that people tend to forget about what would complement that weapon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That firearm. So if you're talking about a 11.5, an AR-15 and 11.5, you need some stuff. Obviously, you need your optics, you need your light, and you need a sling.
Yeah.
So many people leave that. How many times have we done a rifle 101 class and someone shows up with no sling?
Yeah. Yeah, it's at least once, one person per class,
and it's in the title. Hey, show up with a sling.
Yeah.
It's in the description. Show up with a sling. But there's other tools that you need that would complement that. How are you going to carry your magazines? Right?
Yeah.
Are you going to carry them on your belt, or are you going to carry them on your chest? What are you going to go with a chest rig? You're going to go with you got to get training and all that kind of stuff, but how are you going to complement that?
Yeah.
So.
And I think also gear goes hand in hand with that. So like, for example, in that ready room that we're talking about, that hypothetical ready room that may or may not exist, you have, if I want to run, body armor protection, I think there's a real popular thought of one thing does everything. And in life, nothing does everything, right? So, so having that heavy body armor loadout, that more slick body armor loadout, or slick carrier that I wear undercover or under a garment, or like in a vehicle or something like that, or having that heavy chest rig and that light chest rig just to throw on real quick to hold a couple mags, versus a full sustainment chest rig, or a battle belt versus a concealed carry belt. You start to look at these things to complement you, the asset, right? So you can start to do that research, and obviously we'll get into companies and brands that we like in the future, but those are ways that you can start to give your brain some exercise in thinking about what capabilities that you want to have and help you narrow down and give purpose to your buying power.
And learning what that gear, how you need to set it up.
Yes.
I mean, that has been over the past year, having the ranch now to shoot at. Man, I've changed my gear. Actually, we had this conversation.
Wait, why did you change your gear? Is it because you went through training and experience?
We went through training and experienced, yeah. So we had this conversation the other day where you said that you told me that your cry carrier that you have reconfigured that thing
a bajillion times.
Yeah, over and over and over, trying to figure out what fits you best. Okay, and other guys that are in the group and stuff like that, we've seen other buddies, we've seen them reconfigure their stuff over, and including myself. I came out to the ranch the other day, and I had a plate carrier that I had configured, and I threw it on, and the very first thing Eric said, that's not going to work. And he gave me his opinion on why it wasn't going to work, and then I started thinking about it. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, that is not going to work.
It's in the way.
It's in the way. It's going to be physically in the way. So learning that kind of stuff, learning that capability to make you a better asset.
Yeah, and you cannot learn. You can set your gear up and just wear it in the living room, but you cannot learn unless you go out and you train with it on. Even go in the backyard, do some exercises or something, do some calisthenics with your gear, and see like, wow, that really rubbed my armpit raw, or I can't draw my pistol because this pouch that I put there is in the way. You don't understand what works and what doesn't if you don't put it to the test and you don't use it. And what could change my loadout? Well, if things are in the way and it's not working, or something new comes out that's a more updated pouch, and so I'm taking that old pouch off, putting a new one on.
Lower profile. Well, I mean, we can all agree getting lower profile is the way to go.
Oh, yeah.
Is the way to go.
Yeah.
Getting more slim line is the way to go, for sure. Regardless of if your typical EDC, what you're going to carry in your vehicle, or your per se truck gun, how you're going to carry it. If you got a micro chest rig in there, are you taking that micro chest rig and you're strapping 15 different things on it, and now it's no longer micro?
It's just a regular.
It's just a regular chest rig for your EDC inside your truck. Learning. Get out, do some training.
I think also a perfect example of lack of training is night vision.
That's a whole nother subject down the road. That's another topic.
You got night vision, go train. Don't just walk around the house in the dark.
Yeah, it's which you can do a lot of training in the house with your night vision. You can do a lot of admin type stuff like that. Get used to it. But getting behind the rifle and learning your night vision too. So if you're going to invest in it, and I'm learning that right now because night vision.
It's a whole nother ball game.
It's a whole nother ball game. So that's another adventure that I'm going down through right now, and I can't wait to experience it.
Yeah. So I know when we say training, Roy kind of talked about it a little bit in your introduction, but it is so important. If you find training, one, you're taking the first responsible step of going and getting and seeking and making yourself better. Two, if you have a bad experience, don't let that taint your training outlook. Go find a better instructor, a different instructor that actually knows what they're doing. The more that you seek training and find yourself looking to invest in yourself, one, you'll be able to start to pick out, okay, that instructor's saying things and stuff online or on his website or whatever that I don't agree with, and you can kind of start to shop a little bit better, but you can start to narrow down your capability as an individual.
For sure. It's one of those things when it comes to training, because like I said earlier, you're not necessarily going to be happy with every class that you take.
No.
Okay? But if you go in, what your mindset is going into a class is going to dictate how you enjoy that class.
Yes.
And then what you
go at the door.
And what you take home from it. Okay? If you go into a class, I've had people come into a basic firearm safety class, a very basic firearm safety class, where I'm teaching them the fundamentals and the safety of handling a firearm.
Yeah.
We're not teaching them to be John Wick. We're not teaching them to be some grandmaster shooter.
Which I love those movies, by the way. Secret.
Or anything like that. We're teaching them how to hold a pistol, how to unload a pistol.
Yeah.
And they come in thinking that they already know this stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't really care what level you are. Everybody has a journey, and you got to start somewhere.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
You have to go in open-minded when it comes to training. You have to go in knowing that there is something from that instructor that you can take home. For sure.
Yeah.
There's so many people that won't take classes because they feel like they already know everything, or they've already experienced everything, because maybe I'm gonna poke a little bit because of prior background.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a civilian. I've always been a civilian. I've never been in the military. I've never been in law enforcement. I've never been a voluntary firefighter or any kind of first responder or anything whatsoever. But there's so many people that will, because I hear it constantly all the time. Well, my uncle
was in the army.
Yeah. That's great. You know what? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you did. I really appreciate it. But that doesn't make you an expert.
Yes.
Okay? And that person comes into a class a lot of times, unfortunately, and this isn't poking, but it's just being honest.
Yeah.
Comes into class with a closed mindset and think that they already know everything.
Yeah.
Come in open. You go into every class open. How many classes have you been through in your days?
A lot. And that's the thing is, you know who Delta and those guys that cross the fence that are real secret squirrely? They're bringing in civilian competition shooters. You know why? Because they know that there's knowledge out there to be grasped. If you're paying for a class and you already know everything, then why are you paying money for that training? You're just wasting your time. So go in with an open mind. I consider myself a professional student. Like, I'm always looking to take something away because, one, I'm greedy and I want that knowledge and I want to make myself better. But does it just pertain to firearms training?
Yeah.
Or is it multifaceted?
Multi.
Yeah. So like
medical, everything.
Yeah.
Medical, everything. Just life in general.
Yeah.
When it comes to learning. At the end of the day, but yeah, medical, everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's night vision classes, medical classes, survival classes, communications. I can go on for days about how much different training opportunities you can have. There's even driving courses that you can take. So go out there and seek those applications of how to make yourself an asset versus making yourself a liability. The other thing is, with this, find other like-minded individuals. Like we have an amazing group at the ranch. where we are just constantly feeding off of each other, learning from each other through experience, training together.
Making fun of each other.
Making fun of each other, specifically Chris. Just getting in our group. But we have such a good time and a tight-knit friendship, almost a family pretty much of guys that we train with all the time. And we're constantly growing. We're always an asset to each other.
And we could take criticism from each other.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, all the time. Like I go, if we have a day where we just train together, like I'm listening to what everyone's saying.
Right.
I'm taking that criticism and being open from the aspect, because there's going to be something there that, hey, I may know how to do it, but I'm not physically doing it right at that moment.
Yeah.
Whatever that skill set may be that I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And someone points it out to me. It's like, dadgum, you know what? I totally forgot all about doing, know, that. So
yeah, and that's the purpose, honestly, of Hatchet Cast. Like, that is what we want. We talk about this, the conversation that you're hearing right now, we have within our little group at the ranch, and we were like, man, we should just record these conversations because they're so rich with just good, thought-provoking topics that we wanted to put it out there for you guys to listen to, and that's what this is.
And there's
about.
A lot of people that want this stuff too. I mean, Eric, you've been in the shop with me before, and people are coming in and asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so many people have questions, and I think that they're afraid. They're afraid sometimes to physically ask it because they think that they're going to sound stupid.
Yes. And the last thing we need is to drive people out of the community. We need to bring more people in.
And I think that's what the purpose of what we're looking to do here is bring more people into the community. And we don't know everything.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't even come close to. But if there's a little bit of knowledge that we can share to draw more people in and make people feel more comfortable about training and buying with a purpose and setting up their firearms, and we talk about it all the time with gear, getting more people into gear. Yeah. Getting so many people, for myself even, like I was like this type of person that was just like EDC, shove a pistol down my waistline with a good quality holster and a good belt and sling a rifle over me. Yeah. Shove a mag in my back pocket.
Absolutely.
But now I'm wearing chest rigs, and now I'm wearing plate carriers. Now I'm learning my potential as far as what I can become as an asset with these types of tools with them. So I think that is our purpose, and that's kind of our goal here. Yeah. We hear these questions a lot in our community, in our local community here, and obviously that would across the entire country, and that's what we want to do. We want to answer some of this stuff.
Yeah. And to kind of throw some shout outs to some instructors that we really like. Phil from Vigor Training is an amazing instructor. Yusuf from Esoteric in that CQB world. We've got some other, Point One Tactics. Was it Spartan NC?
Spartan. Well, it's not Spartan.
It's a different one now.
Yeah, it's
but him, I mean, amazing trainers that are out there and have a wealth of knowledge and experience. And we highly recommend go be a leech and just suck as much information out of them as you can. Soak up as much as you can to make yourself better.
And it doesn't matter what level you're at.
No,
it doesn't matter what.
Everyone's on their own journey.
Everyone's on their own journey. So if you're a baseline shooter that's just getting into this, take a fundamentals class. After you take that fundamentals and safety class, go take a pistol 101 or a rifle 101.
Yes. And that's the key, is also you can't buy your training and think, okay, now after I take this class, I immediately have this capability. It's on you.
No,
you
to continue to train.
Yes, and you have to do it on
We took a class just a week ago.
Yeah.
A basically defensive pistol / vehicle class.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
With Vigor,
with Vigor Training. So continue to train regardless of what your journey is. Start somewhere and continue on with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a lot of good trainers out there within the community. You can definitely get a lot of knowledge from a ton of good reputable companies, and it's upon you to take the information and then to practice it. You can't just buy that knowledge. So make sure you go out, you train, and then take what you've learned from the class and exercise those things that you were able to get. So real quick, in conclusion, we're going to talk a little bit about episode 4, which is Roy's favorite word right now is recce. Just kidding.
We're going to call it general purpose rifle.
So I know it's a hot topic, and so next episode we will be talking about general purpose / recce rifles and our experiences with them.
For sure. We're gaining more data on them. Of course, we got a lot of data from the first episode that we did, but me and Eric got wrapped up into talking about Mark 12s. So we kind of felt that the general purpose style setup, recce setup, deserves its own episode.
Yes, it does.
And we're gaining more data that we talked about after doing that, like including our kit and our gear that we would use.
So
for
it'll
that.
probably be like a series.
It'll be
like
a little bit
numerous
of a series.
parts.
Yeah. So we'll probably break it down because it's a long topic.
Yeah.
It really is. There's so much that could go into it. So we'll break that down.
But anyways, guys, if you like our conversations in these episodes, please support us. The best way that you can support us is you can go and you can hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell, and it lets you know when we have a new episode dropping. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have some things that you want to talk about, just leave us a comment. We love talking to you guys and having conversations because we learn from those things.
Get into a conversation down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Or argue with each other, I guess.
Yeah, argue it.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, this is Hatchet Cast episode 4. Thanks for hanging out with me and Roy, and we'll see you on the next one.